Everyone loves Star Wars. I mean, the epic space battles and riveting wars. I mean, whether it be between droids and clones or stormtroopers and Ewoks, they're always a thrill. But what if you could experience the front lines of battle? Beautiful and driving John Williams' score playing in the background, a powerful and solid blaster in your hand, TIE fighters and X-Wings soaring above your head. It would be marvelous. And you can have it right now, Battlefront! Now, Star Wars Battlefront was a game developed by Panasonic Software back in 2004. It felt just like the movies. Familiar characters around you and many iconic maps from the movies. It was a class-based shooter set with a Star Wars theme, and gosh darn if it wasn't fun. All the maps were designed perfectly for open battle, and the soundtrack did not disappoint. Then came along the inevitable sequel, Star Wars Battlefront 2 in 2005, and now this is the one that I actually played. My brother's friend got him a PSP as well as the game, just at random one day, so they could play it together, and eventually my parents got me a PSP as well, and I borrowed Battlefront often. And by often, I mean like all of the time. It was the only game that I could just keep going back to, and it never ceased to be fun. You know, the rest of the PSP games just got boring after a while. Battlefront 2 implemented way more maps and game modes, including Heroes, which was definitely awesome. The graphics were much better and the controls smoother than the previous game. And now, you could only run for so long without getting tired, and that makes sense logically, but sometimes this was confusing, because it would stop you even if you continue to hold the button, and there isn't much indication that you'd stopped running, so at times it felt like you're running as fast as you can through a sea of molasses. But this was still a significant improvement to constantly running through a sea of molasses. Now, there is just so much stuff in this game. Over 46 players could play on one map, I mean, at least on the PC version. There are 24 unique maps, not including campaign maps, which is another thing this game had, is a campaign. And some of the maps are massive and always true to the films. Now, I prefer just to stick with instant action mode, which lets you choose a series of maps and then instantly go into battle, because it's just the funnest thing ever. Now, knowing this, you could imagine my excitement when they announced another sequel many years later. Now, it was almost cancelled, but then it wasn't, and then it went through vigorous work for a long time, and the map designers even visited the actual sets and locations of the films so they could realistically recreate these iconic environments. There's a lot of hype for this game, and it finally released on the 17th of November. I got it that very day. And the first thing you'll notice is, holy smoke, the graphics are amazing. They look almost real, like you're actually in the movies. I can't even tell you just how good this looks. Just look at it. Just look at it. Now, they actually changed things quite a bit for this entry. Instead of a class-based shooter, it's a level-based shooter. You increase in level and get new equipment to adapt to your playstyle. I actually like it better. You can choose whatever gun you want, whatever second gun / explosive you want, and an extra power up to increase your accuracy or other things like that. Now, another thing you can use is the jump pack, which is awesome. Just look at it. It's beautiful. You know, the controls have been tightened as tight as possible. I mean, you can traverse any terrain without feeling awkward and like a messy robot on wheels trying to jump over a wall like it was in the previous game. I don't know what that was, but anyway, everything feels weighted and real. Like, you can really feel it when you're standing still and you just burst off running, and it just looks good. You know, you feel the weight transferring, and it's just is great. And now you can also run as much as you like, which actually makes things a lot better. I mean, so far, everything is better than the old games, and I'm enjoying it much more than before. But there's a problem with this game. Although the technology and gameplay of the game has significantly improved, it has lost what made the previous games so good: content. There were only 17 maps in this game, and no more Clone Wars era or any space battles. I mean, sure, there's battle with spaceships, but it's not the same as flying through space, intercepting other ships from the enemy, and destroying humongous Star Destroyers. It's just not the same. And there are even less players per map than before. I mean, there's just so much less. It's like taking a garden with tons of flowers and then cutting it down to a garden with only a few flowers, but really pretty flowers. I mean, what would you prefer? A garden where you can frolic through its many average-looking flowers, or a garden that you can appreciate for its amazing beauty? I mean, you can really go either way with this. I mean, either one's good, it's just what do you prefer? The maps are mostly incredible. I mean, they don't even have the Death Star, or Dagobah, or Mos Eisley. That was awesome. You could go into the cantina. I don't understand. They were so good. Anyway, the most of these new maps, however, are smaller than usual, but that only makes for more interesting gameplay. Everyone's tighter together, so there's more action and less running around looking for something to shoot. However, in the end, is this game fun? Heck yeah, it is! It's probably the most enjoyable in the series, and yet it is the smallest. It has and will continue to bring many smiles upon my face as I soak in the epic Star Wars goodness. Oh, also, did I mention that this game sounds amazing with this spot-on sound design, including many original Star Wars effects, and a combination with John Williams? It just creates a truly wonderful Star Wars atmosphere. But there are a few new features I haven't mentioned. There is a buddy system, similar to what DICE did with their previous games, Battlefield. I mean, you spawn next to them, or you can use their hand, and your hand is basically what you have on you, the thing I described earlier. The mechanics of the game have been changed quite a bit as well. In the old game, if you got shot, you'd heal next to a medical droid or pick up some health. And this made it so the game was more crazy and hyper run and gun type of deal. In Battlefront, however, you heal by sitting still for a few seconds. So rather than running around constantly, you're playing more strategically, hiding behind covers and crouching to make yourself smaller. You also die faster, so gotta be careful. You can't just run in, shoot, and you're gonna die. The heroes, however, do need to find specific health pickups, because otherwise they would be completely OP. All these minor things actually changed the gameplay a lot, mostly for the better. I mean, the balance is not perfect, but that's hard to do while staying true to the movies. For example, on Endor, the rebels have camouflage and are much harder to see than the bright white plastic stormtroopers. But even so, I prefer to be on the Empire side, because who doesn't? The stormtroopers are awesome when they're not sucky. Okay, so here's something incredible. I was making this review before watching the movie, and now I'm making a note after I've seen the movie, and I must say something incredible. This game, how it feels, how it sounds, completely mirrors those movies. Like, even the way people fall over when they die is identical. It looks like the original trilogy, but it feels like the new trilogy. It's actually really cool. Like, after I was watching the movie and I'm like, whoa, Battlefront is identical to this in the way things work and shoot. It's incredible. And yeah, that's just all there is to it. I mean, this game is really good. I mean, it may be smaller, but it's fantastic in all its smallness. I would definitely have loved to have had more content, but at least we do have what we do, and all of it is pretty awesome. Anyway, that's my review of Battlefront. I hope you enjoyed it. Stick around for possibly a live stream. I'm not sure if it's going to happen within this month or later in January, because I'm pretty busy near the end of this month, but we'll see. I'll let you know. Alright, this is SwiftClick signing off once again. Happy Star Wars Month, everyone.